Welcome, everyone, to the Service Lounge. I am your host, Brandon Nixon, and with me today we have two very special guests. Actually, you guys are our first DMS on the podcast. So I have Scott and Kim from Dominion DMS on the call. So, Scott, Kim, thank you both for jumping on. I think this is going to be a great episode for everyone.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, we're excited.
Writing, yeah.
Well, so what I do for every episode, everybody knows the run. I like to get the background of who we have on the call. So before we jump in, though, I just want to kind of lay the land of what we're going to be reviewing today. Like I said, we've got our first DMS on the podcast. I'm really excited to kind of get your guys' perspective on the customer experience and where the industry's at, what you guys are doing on your side. And then, of course, we have NADA coming up. And so you guys will have kind of like the last show before we get into NADA. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your guys' perspective on NADA, what you're doing a little bit different, and what you think the new year is going to bring. So if you can, Scott, I'll start with you. Can you kind of give the audience a little bit of a background of who you are, where you came from, how long you've been with Dominion?
Yeah, no, Brandon, I appreciate being here. So, Scott Kaskocak, I've been in the automotive tech industry. I think Kim's probably going to say the same thing. She's probably going to be a broken record, but I've been in the automotive tech industry pretty much my whole career, spanning over 30 years. So mainly on the sales and marketing side. Worked for a couple of the bigger competitors. Also took some more of the marketing and advertising companies and helped them grow as well. But mainly on the DMS tech side. And I'm the chief revenue officer. I run sales and marketing. I live here in the Midwest in Louisville, currently dealing with 12 inches of snow. But yeah, I have a great wife, three boys, and no, we're excited to talk a little bit about View. Also talk a little bit about Update Promise and how we're working together and all the synergies there.
Awesome. Kim, can you jump and give a little background on your side?
I can. And usually I mumble the first part, which is how many years have I been in automotive? It was pre Y2K, and we'll just leave it at that.
There you go.
But that means I've seen a lot of things, right? So you've seen like the internet develop, you've seen like the BDC trend, you've seen all the things. I started out as a DMS installer. I was once told that you grow by dog years because you learn a lot when you are
Yep.
in dealerships, lots of them every day. Spent some time doing demos, product marketing, in fact, with Scott here. Took a sales territory, worked for a dealer group in Virginia for a while. And then a couple of the other competitors are aftermarket companies in automotive as well.
Awesome. So you guys have really seen both sides of it over the years. I hate to say it, but you guys are aging me out. I'm going to throw that little dig out there if I can. So, no, but we're excited to have you guys on. And, what really got me excited about talking about the DMS and especially regarding the service lounges, we talk about the customer experience, right? And I always bring forward the customer experience as in the person who showed up at the dealership to either get their vehicle serviced or buy a new vehicle. And everybody always asks, well, but how does the DMS truly affect that, right? It's usually the internal workflow. So I'd like to ask, and either of you chime in, but how do you guys feel that your tool has helped to improve the overall impression that customers are getting on dealerships? DMSs, there's always the big players and it's the big heart of the dealer, but not many people know that that's what's keeping everything moving.
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't know that the dealer's end consumer doesn't know probably the engine behind. And they see all the tools, whether it's what you guys have or on the
Yeah.
CRM side or on the F&I or and they probably don't know that the core DMS is behind it, or the management system is behind it to keep the operations running. So I think you use the word, the customer experience. I saw an ad a couple weeks ago or a month or so ago. It said like 3 out of 4 dealerships, their number one, it's kind of like a dentist, 4 out of 5 dentists, but
Yeah.
3 out of 4 dealerships say that the number one thing on their mind is enhancing their customer's experience, their
Yep.
client, the end. Yep. And so the way we do that is pretty simply is we're very simple. I mean, we are cloud core DMS. That's all we focus on. And all we're focused on is making in parts, in service, in accounting, those interactions and those workflows as quick and as easy as possible. Whether you're a, a baby boomer or a Gen Z, you can use our system. You can train on our system. You can be up and running on our system. You can learn our system very quickly. And that translates then to the dealer's consumer, because if someone's easily using a dealer management system and can navigate it and get the simple, most important things done for that client, whether it's getting that repair order and getting them into service quickly and getting them out of service quickly, or whether
Yep.
it's, getting, keeping the accounting moving and running and cash flow and all those things, then if they're doing it simply, then obviously the speed, the time, and the satisfaction that the end user or the end client's going to have for the dealership is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that like the more that we can make the service advisor, the salesman, the F&I manager's job and their lives a little bit easier with everything we do, then the customer experience continues to elevate, right? And you know, coming into the new year, dealers, I will say, I've seen on our side, the amount of dealers that are switching from one DMS to another DMS has increased tremendously recently. And I think it's because of the new, like you said, the new cloud-based DMS, more user-friendly. We're getting away from you have to remember the 30 different keystrokes of what you need
That's
to
right.
do to get from one page to the other. That's the beauty of where I think the new mindset of where the DMS is going. And so, Kim, and from your perspective, what sort of problems has the industry, ran into consistently that's driven the industry to move towards a more, forward-thinking DMS compared to the traditional DMS that has, to be honest, worked for a very long time?
It has. And, for all of us that grew up back in that time, sorry for
Yeah.
aging you out. If you learned any of those executables, you can still rattle them off because they're stuck in there. But
Yeah.
what I think we're coming against is two main things. One, from the experience that the dealer's team has interacting with
Yep.
the system. And then from the customer's perspective, whether you look at it from service parts, F&I, all those things that you mentioned, when you talk to a customer about their frustration and you keep asking the questions, it's all time. It's
Hmm.
time related. Like legit. It's not this or that or signatures or it's you took too long to find something. You took too long to get my deal closed. You took too long to find my parts. I waited on the call on the phone for too long. It's all time. And that is one of the key things I like about Dominion DMS is just because of the ease of use that Scott mentioned and the way we've designed the screens, you can find information faster, which means your customer is serviced faster.
Yeah.
And from the team experience and learning the system, because again, everyone who works in a dealership, when you change something like the DMS, you want to poke yourself in the eye because you're like, oh, here we go again. Um, I like litmus testing. Sorry, I'm pointing back to my family.
Yeah.
Snow day, everybody's home. My husband's my age. And my son is 15 and he codes Python and all of these things. So I love showing them both what we're doing and getting their very different perspectives. And when I can hear both my husband, who regularly complains about websites and programming, and then my son, who knows how to program, and they both say it's easy, I know it's a winner for our
Yeah,
customers.
absolutely. Well, and you bring up a good point with your son being 15 years old. The reality, the industry workers in automotive are getting younger, right?
Yes.
And they have a much higher expectation when they show up
Hmm.
to work on the tools that they're going to use, right? And I hate to say it, a lot of people, they're losing their loyalty to the dealers. But so if they show up to the dealership and the tools that they're using to get their day to day job done
Mhm.
are outdated, they're old, and it takes too long to work through, that employee is probably not going to be there very long, right? So I think from a retention perspective, forward thinking is such a big move for dealers right now to make sure that they can build the team to actually deliver on the customer experience that they want to
Yes.
provide, right?
Yes.
We're not going to change. I always say tools are not going to change the customer experience. The people are. So we got to make those people better, right? And so I love that that's part of what you guys are doing and changing that viewpoint from every generation and the newer generation especially by making it just easy is probably most important with any tool that we're going to be using in the future.
Agreed. And it's changed. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, right? Well, you may not, but we've seen the internet come, right? Which
Yep.
was a huge, we saw digital leads, we saw, and now the whole AI thing. And it's changing very, very quickly. And if you don't have a system that can help you keep up with that, Your consumers are used to it. They're using it every day in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You can't keep up with your consumer. They're going to get frustrated and go someplace else.
Yeah. So let's talk about data. And I know this is going to be a hard one for you guys because you live in this world all the time. And the question is always raised in the industry, who owns the data and how am I going to get it from this to the next? How, in your guys' experience, without naming names, how is that transition of getting data when a dealer is making a switch? Because trust me, I know that headache when they're switching service tools regarding my program. I can only imagine from the DMS, from one DMS to another, that transition can't be easy. And I'm sure some work well with you better than others. So how have you guys overcome that?
Well, you nailed it again, Brandon. Some work better or play nice in the sandbox and some don't. But yeah, what we like to have is we do have a data sharing agreement with,
Yeah.
some of the competitors, and it should be that way, right? Because not even if it's a hostile takeover, but there are a lot of buy sells that go on in the
Yeah.
industry, as you know. And, so, if our customers are buying somebody and they happen to be on another competitive system, you want to make it easy for them. And again, that dealer and then their clients. And same for us, same for the competitor. So if their group's buying somebody and they're on us, we want to make it is as easy as possible if that's the system that they choose.
Well,
Uh,
like you said, that's how it should be,
yeah,
right? I've always said, and especially in our space, because we deal with a similar range of competitors, right? And it's
yeah,
okay to be a good competitor, right?
right,
While still doing good business for the industry, right?
yeah,
Because who's going to suffer when you guys start bumping heads and you're not providing
right,
this, and then the data is parsed here, and it takes too long to make the the dealership suffers, the customer suffers, right? So I love that you guys have those data share agreements and you guys have found some ways to transition that data in a much better way because it is a big pain point. And I understand, we all of us don't want to lose business, right?
yeah,
But if you do it well, you're going to gain business somewhere else. And I've always said we can't all have the entire pie. If we physically couldn't handle it, right?
no,
So let's do well to work together in the industry to really ultimately improve the customer experience as a whole.
Yeah,
right,
and
yeah,
Brandon, I think that's where we really started having a great relationship with Update Prompts, right? Is because of the Open API.
Yeah.
And Scott and I, when we started working together a couple years ago at Dominion, right, we were talking about what we stand for as a company, what we want to
Mhm.
bring to our dealers and the market. And one of the things we have is literally on everything, it says freedom. And that's
I love that.
freedom for the dealer to get their data, freedom for the dealer to own their data, freedom for the dealer to plug and play the other apps that they want into their core DMS. So that is really at the heart of what we believe in from a business perspective. And hopefully we live that with dealers as well.
Well, okay, I have to give a plug to you guys and for people who are listening on. As Update promised, we deal with every DMS, right? And we have great partnerships and integrations with a lot of DMSs. And I'm not speaking down about anyone, but I will say a very positive thing about Dominion is you guys don't say no from our perspective, which has been awesome. If it makes sense, I'm never going to bring something to you guys that doesn't make sense for the customer experience or the dealership. But if it makes sense, you guys are like, okay, yeah, let's figure out how to do it, right? And we're
right,
not jumping through 10, 15 different layers of individuals to then finally get another email saying, well,
right,
your package doesn't have that. And we're going to have to go through 10 months of recertification to get this done, right? That is a typical experience with DMSs, and dealers don't see that side of the business. And you guys do not do that. So I hope as you guys continue to scale your business, you continue to do that because it is phenomenal to deal with on our side. And it makes a big difference on retention for you
yeah.
guys. Trust me, dealers talk about it. So
Well, we appreciate that, and we do, and you guys are a great partner. And like Kim said, I mean, we're not going to change because one of our four big pillars is freedom, and she
yeah,
mentioned it, and we're not going to build a service lane technology tool that is as good as yours. Yours is really good. It's well thought out. It's got great workflows. It's got all the things that you would want, and we're not. We can't do that. We can't duplicate
yeah.
it. So if our integrations and our partnership with you can be seamless and be great and be deep, it's no different. I mean, some people say, "Oh, you got to be all in because the integrations will be better." I'll call BS to that. Our
Yeah.
integrations are just as deep and just as good with you, and then that turns into a great experience for the dealership, and then that turns into a great experience, as you mentioned, for their clients.
Well,
Is
so one thing I've
through
seen,
the service process and getting, taken care of from the advisors and the technicians and everything that you do,
yeah.
in wrapping that consumer, um, that's how it's supposed to work.
Well, so one thing I've seen is dealers will navigate, which I totally understand of
Mhm.
I want to work with one provider, right? I want one throat to choke because it makes, my lives easier. We've heard that term over the years consistently.
Yep.
And the big pitch has always been, well, I do have the all in one, everything, right? And as I've always said, I call them Frankensteins because they're six different companies, separate companies that have been purchased, bought, and told that they integrate and work well with each other until the reality starts coming around, right? Where it's like, okay, well, my all in one that I was going forward with isn't really all in one. So to your point, Scott, how about working with the best of the best? And we've seen that from the OEM perspective as well, right? OEMs, for quite some time went forward with, I'm going to build our own tool that our dealers are going to use here. And I'm going to mandate that they use this, right? And then what happens? They get a bunch of rejection from the dealers and things fail, right? So if we provide options and choice for the dealers to get the best of the best, and we may not be it for that dealer, maybe something else, but you as the DMS taking that mindset really says a lot about the character that you guys have because I understand it's a business.
Right.
You gotta hold as much as you possibly can, but if you can allow the best of the best to execute, then great, the dealers can deliver even more on the customer's expectations.
Yeah, no, couldn't have said it better. I mean, that's why we say build your tech stack your way. We can't be the best SLT, CRM, advanced reporting tool, payment processor, and there's a lot that try to do that, and we get it. There's more revenue in that.
Yeah.
If we wanted to build, but we're gonna, and then we're gonna be mediocre. We're gonna be
Yeah.
mediocre in those other. We're not gonna be as we're not gonna offer what you have. Kim and I talk about this all the time. The BlackBerry was great. I loved my BlackBerry.
Oh, I
Okay,
loved it
you
too.
may be too young for the
No,
BlackBerry, but
I loved my BlackBerry.
yeah, okay, I loved it. I
But
want
you knew who had him at the table too, because you could see him like doing this in the meeting.
yeah, and I'd still have it if something didn't come along called the iPhone.
Yeah.
Technology changes. It better and that's what you guys are doing and the others that why not take the best in class tech stack and it's going to get better and better and better and AI is going to have a lot to do with it. We're built on Microsoft Azure. We're one of only two that are built 100% in the cloud. There's Azure,
Love
there's AWS, and there's Google. It's only three, except for the Apple cloud, which is music and all that. But
that.
we can run on AWS, but we chose Azure. And we're 100% cloud built, cloud native software that runs on it, so that we can be agile and integrate with our great partners. And then also we're ready for everybody says all the dealers say, hey, you guys are really modern because we're ready we can build into that and scale so easily with that foundation. That's our second pillar is foundation and the security. If you have all your eggs in one basket, as you know, and that shame that we can all that happen, but you have all your eggs in one basket, then if the cyber attack happens and you're down everywhere,
Yeah.
you're completely down. You don't have another avenue to at least run service or run payroll or run and close out a deal or so um, but very secure. And that's another reason that we're 100% cloud built and on Azure because of the security that comes with it.
And Scott, you made me think of something too that circles back to Brandon, what you mentioned earlier about the end consumer's experience, right? Those really painful, it seems like forever ago, but 15 days, right? If you
Yeah.
were all in, right? Like your customers couldn't buy cars. They couldn't pick up their car. They couldn't pay for their repairs. They couldn't, like all the things they couldn't do.
Yep.
And when you're looking at some of the more legacy DMS, right? You use the phrase Frankenstein, Frankenstuck, something like that, right? Because it's all coggled together and
Yep.
patchworked. And they will say they're modern and they'll say we're cloud hosted, but that's not the same. It
Yeah.
just means you go to the internet and you access servers that aren't in your store.
Yep.
It's really the same thing. And the way we built our technology, we're actually the data is replicated in different areas, secure, but different areas. So if something happens, not just a cyber attack, but like a flood
Yeah.
or a fire, um, we can do a switch and do a quick rollover, and the dealer can keep working and servicing their customers.
I
And
love that.
because let's face it, the customers don't care. They just want to buy their car or pay for repairs. And to me, the true cloud provider software does that for the end consumer that a hosted version can't really guarantee for a dealer.
Okay.
Mm.
So I've got a couple hard questions for you guys. I'm going to challenge you if I haven't already been. But
Yeah, love it.
when it comes to launching DMSs, my analogy I've always used is, switching a DMS is like replacing a spine on a human, right? You're taking so much out and
Uh,
having to put something new back in. It's almost seems impossible and very painful, and the recovery process can be a while. So launching and preparing for that is probably so important. How would you say that you guys set yourselves apart from the other DMS providers, even the cloud competitive DMS providers, when it comes to launching the program and the people you have on your launch team?
Scott, do you want to take this one? Otherwise, I'm jumping out of my skin.
you go first, and
Yeah.
I'll add on. I'll let you go this one, and then because I know you are. I know where you're going. You go for it.
Well, I mean, part of it is, I said earlier, that's where I started. I
Yeah,
started doing installs,
Yeah.
right? I did the conversions, slept in the dealerships, tried to take them up outside of consumer hours. Um, so you're right. It's painful. It's horrible, awful, and you're perky and change management and yay,
Yeah.
all the jazz fingers, but it's still painful. Um, what we do, I will say, and I've worked for a couple DMS companies, is wildly different than anybody else out there. I mean, hands
Okay.
down.
I want to
Um,
know this.
I mean, seriously, and I've seen it from old school and I've seen it middle school. This is next gen. We have a wizard built. We call it Vox, the
Okay.
virtual online onboarding experience. And so parts managers, service managers, controller, whoever normally would be a part of setting up a system gets asked questions, just like a wizard. And depending on how they answer that question, like, do you run a 13th month? Or how often do you do inventory? All those different questions. Depending on how you answer that question,
Hmm.
the next question will be different based on your response. And by the time they kind of finish going through those steps, the DMS or view we know how to set their system up in a way that fits the workflow and processes they have. And the other thing I always remember is dealers always want to know, well, which of my managers isn't doing what they need to do? Which one of them are behind? Who's not, going to
Hmm.
meet our deadline? And Vox already has a dashboard built in for dealers to see what
Love it.
manager is moving, what percent are they moving along, who's already done, just so you can have those conversations and it becomes a more proactive rather than, beating somebody up because they're not doing it. And we combine that so that it's not just software, but they have a dedicated specialist that works with them through that. So if they have any questions at all, real human being gets to talk to them, check in
That's
with
great.
them, and that same person is the person that's dedicated to them after they go live. So when they're
Okay.
looking for optimization, when they're looking for, hey, we brought a new F&I manager on, it's the same person that worked with them during onboarding and already knows how their store works. So that's why I think hands down, we can go against anybody on that, truly.
I
yeah.
like that. That's awesome. To be honest, I want to learn a little bit more, probably behind closed doors, on how you guys do that, because that is such a pain point with just launching any sort of software. Is everybody's green light gung ho when we sign the agreements? Yeah, we're going to make the change, and then it's like everyone stops and nobody wants to give you all the information to get going, right? And now you're having to it's like pulling teeth out of these people to get the data of the tool that they wanted to switch, right?
Right.
And so that I know from a dealer's perspective, they're going, well, yeah, I'm still running my business, so I can't
I got a
focus
day
on
job.
both. Can you do it, right? So being able to watch my progress, see it, and from a management perspective, be able to check on that. That's the first time I'm hearing you guys do that. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
mean, and I think Brent, you guys see it too. I mean, I mean, outside the DMS world, you're pretty sophisticated as well. I would say CRM
Yeah.
systems and you all are, SLTs are probably next in that, right? As far as, I mean, yeah, advanced reporting is a layer that you're going to lay on top, and there's things that go on. But as far as a install goes, you probably see it too.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot to it when you guys are training and installing and converting, and yeah, so
It's the spine transplant, as I said. It's painful, but
yeah.
it'll be worth it in the
You'll
end.
feel
It'll
so
be
much
Yeah.
worth
better
it.
when it's
I like
over.
I like spine. We usually say, and we agree, it's like, I usually say it's like, having a root canal, but you put it even
Yeah.
probably
You
more
guys, the
in
DMS is the
perspective that
backbone of it all,
you're
right? That's
replacing the spine, but yeah, Kim, not only the Vox and the ease of learning that we've talked about, and the first thing we want to do, right, is if you're going to switch, and that's hard, we fight status quo over the competitors just like you do. Just
yeah,
somebody will quit, or they've been on it forever, or they don't want to change, or even though we gotta be able to help, right? What are we helping them accomplish, or what are we helping them do?
yeah,
Whether it's cash flows, or reducing risk, or security, or we said freedom, or being able to build your tech stack your way, or keeping you more secure, or ease of contracts, or ease of terms, or reducing your risk, or getting faster, or helping people that are the next generation use a very easy system. We
yeah,
we first want to help. That's what we're there for. How can we help? And if you say, okay, I think they can help, then to Kim's point, we make it really easy with our tools. It's kind of like a TurboTax for, I don't think we can say that because it's trademark, but for onboarding. And then what we do provide on top of that, we take it a step. That's all great. But, we'll send out the live trainers for implementation, and then we take it a step further. Then we're going to optimize you because they're not going to get it all done. So
yeah,
then we go to optimization, which is help you get through month end, help you with reports, things you didn't get to during the install. And then on top of that, we have what we call client success managers that are trained, unlike some of our competitors that send out performance coaches that aren't trained on the DMS. They're trained on one of the other ancillary solutions, but there's there
yep.
to help on the DMS, and they can't really answer questions. Ours are trained in the areas on the DMS. They're client success managers that come out, visit you, and they're also in touch with you once a month for
Scott,
utilization.
I'm sorry, what's the charge for that extra? Like those people coming, you should mention
Oh,
that.
that is zero for all that. Yeah, comes in that, yeah. Because I love Brandon's question. What are you doing different? Well, it is a spine it is a spine surgery, and it does take time, and it is arduous. So,
Well,
we're
the
gonna get ahead
key,
of
I
it on the
think,
front end, and then help you be there on the back, and then our support's all US based and is there for you as well.
I think the key you just had mentioned, and it clicked in my head based off what you said earlier, is you guys are expert on your DMS, including your client success specialist. I think that's the difference maker, right? Because every dealership has experienced that with where their client success or their performance coach, whoever it was, walks in the door and, oh, well, I don't know too much about the accounting side over there, but if you want to talk service, I can help you here, right? Or I know about accounting. I don't have service. I can direct you in this specific direction. If you guys have people, because you're truly focused on the DMS experience and not spreading yourself so thin where you've got a jack of all trades, you're not a master of one.
Mhm.
That's the problem of the other DMSs. You guys, from what I'm hearing, are doing more of a master of one, right? And allowing everybody else to be the masters in their field, which as a result, when your people show up to help the store, the dealers know what they're going to get help on, right? That's
Right.
big because I've seen that firsthand with plenty of DMSs out there, and a lot of people do it wrong. So that's great that you guys do it that way. Well, we're approaching our 30-minute mark. I told you guys 25 to 30
Well, our
minutes goes
lunch show was like,
really
oh,
quick.
we're over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but hopefully for the people who are listening on, I'd like to ask, send in some information to me, some hard questions that maybe you'd like to run by more DMS providers. We're going to have more DMS providers on the Service Lounge in the future. And so I'm excited to have you guys on, excited for continuing to work together in the industry to propel things forward. Keep saying yes. I would ask you of that. Please do. And if anybody who's listening in is going to be at NADA, you guys can see Dominion View DMS as well as Update Promise at NADA. So what booth number? Do you guys know your booth number off the top of your head?
2901W.
Okay, there you go. I'd see. I didn't. I was like, oh, that'll be a hard one because not a lot of people will remember it off the top of their head. So yeah, definitely go take a look at Dominion DMS and come by Update. Promise we can show you guys some next level tech as well. So hope everybody has a great rest of their day. We will see you at NADA. Scott, Kim, thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you,
joining on.
Brandon. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.